All right, guys, here we are. I put this out on Facebook yesterday, I think it was, that I would be willing to edit one of your photos and kind of call it, how would I edit your photo? It didn't get any right away, but I figured I'd do one of mine real quick just to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. So here's the image I selected. This was taken at Dorothea Dix Park back in August, around the 10th, I think it was. A couple of us went up there just to try to chase the painted bunnies. We didn't have any luck, but we chased some butterflies around there. It seemed like all day. So here's the original image. You can tell it was shot at 1/4 thousandth of a second at f9 at ISO 1000. Now, nothing really has me concerned about this image, but ISO 1000, you would start introducing a little bit of noise. You can see it in here just a little bit, not too bad. But then if you look at the histogram, you can tell that I've missed a lot on the left-hand side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, again, this is my editing process. If you're going to do this in Lightroom, you're probably going to go over and hit details. You're probably going to hit on the denoise, and then you're going to do your sharpening in here. I'm not going to do that because, again, this is how I would edit your image. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take and send this over to Plugin Extras into Process with Topaz Photo AI. And I hit that and it'll shoot it over there real quick. Now this process does take, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 seconds to do because it's going to an external program, and it also is using some AI, which means it's got to go to the, the cloud to do some processing. So here it is. It kicked over as a Topaz. And as you can tell, I just downloaded the new, well, it looks like I got a new download to do, so I'll do that later. But anyway, here it is in Topaz. Right now it's doing the raw denoise and it's doing a sharpening. Let's see what it's sharpening here. So if I click on that, okay, it looks like it's doing what I need it to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit because I wanna make sure that I got the antennas. So I'm just gonna paint that in there. I'll make sure it's get all his legs, get all this flower, make sure it got the end of it. Yes, it did. So we're good there. And then I'll come back over here to controls. And now you can actually see what this has done. So it has already processed the image, and when we scroll across, see what it does to the start of the, like right the front of his nose. It really just does a lot, and it also cleans up a little bit of that noise in the background that I was saying. There wasn't much, but there was some. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say, oops, I lost it. Let me go back and grab it real quick. I got excited, I guess. What I was trying to do is make it larger. Because I got to get to the button down here. Here we go. Export to Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom Classic. And now what it does is it does its processing, and it'll shoot it back over to Lightroom into the same folder with the same, in this case, just a flag. All right, there's the original. Now when it pops up, it's going to move it over to here. Actually, it did in this case because we're already at the end of the film strip. So that's the original, and that's the second one. So we can actually do a quick comparison of these two. So the one on the left is the one that's been processed by Topaz Photo AI, and you can see the huge difference in sharpness in here. So anyway, it done a good job. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to start going into editing this image. So go back over to the develop module. First thing I'm going to do is make sure my camera lens is on, profile's on. This was shot with the Nikon Z800. I guess I was doing macro with an 800mm that day. Just goes to prove that whatever lens you have on your camera is the best one for when you're shooting. So don't ever give up a chance to shoot an image, even if you got the wrong lens on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click auto, see what it does. It does nice. I'm going to Control Z to get rid of that. I'm going to go up and try adaptive color and see what that does for us. I like that. I'm going to stick with the adaptive color. That's going to be my starting ground. And as you see, when you use the adaptive color, it does not change any of your sliders. So that's a good thing, which means if you had so much highlight, or let's say you had to really increase the shadows, you haven't moved these sliders, which means you got the full range. So let me go ahead and do Control Z, and I'm going to click on auto, and we'll see what that does for us. Now auto, as you can tell, it gave us almost the same outcome. However, now I don't have my full sliders because this is where it's saying to go. So if I really had to take my shadows up all the way, I would only be going up 70%, where if I do the one for adaptive color, then I can still go up from all the way to 100, which means I've got a lot more range on this. So that's kind of a neat function. Again, you can't abuse any of the sliders, but that's just kind of a neat thing to realize. There are times when both of those, what I'll call shortcuts, don't work very well. And there's a lot of times when I will just go and use landscape. It doesn't do all the brightening and everything, but it does give you some pretty decent color. So again, I'm going to go back to adaptive color. And at this point, now I'm just going to look at it. I've got some black clippings here. I'll turn that on so you can see it. I don't see where they are, but let's just go ahead and move the slider and see. Okay, so it's in the wings and over there on the left-hand side. So I'm going to get rid of that all the way till I don't see the blue up here, and that looks pretty good right there. Still got a little bit of room on the white, so I'm going to take the whites up some. Oh, that's really making it pop quite a bit. See how far we can go with that. Okay, that looks good too. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the shadows up because you got the shadows details in here. And I'm actually going to zoom this all the way to 100 and just kind of look and see what we get. Well, that looks really good, but I don't like what it does with the rest of the image. So let's take that back down. We're going to do a isolated kind of shadows there in just a second. I'm going to take my contrast and take that to about 20. No, maybe in this case I'll go to about 13 or 14. That gave me a little bit more black, so I'm going to punch them up just a little bit more. And I think that's really good for those sliders right there. I will come down to the vibrance slide, and I'll punch that up to probably my go-to is 15. So I'm going to go to 15, and then we can push up the saturation a little bit, but if you go crazy, this is me going crazy on the saturation, it just doesn't look very good. Of course, if you go the other way on saturation, you can make this a black and white image. So I'm going to take this maybe up to 3, and that's it. I don't need to do anything with the color mixer. I don't need to do anything in detail because it's already been sharpened in the Photo AI, the Topaz. I don't need to do any new noise reduction because it's been done in there too. I have nothing that I need to transform. I don't ever really play with the lens blur. I don't think that's a super function at this point. We've already done lens correction, so about the only thing I'd really need to do would be do a vignette, and we'll do, in this case, since it's really bright, I'm probably going to go to about a 9. So we're at 9 now. I'm going to turn it off real quick, and I kind of like that. I think I'm going to go a little less. I think I'm going to go about a 3 on this one, just because I like the brightness of the overall image. So we did say that we wanted to go in here and do a little bit on this, the wings underneath. So let's do that. We're going to go over to the mask. And in this case, I'm going to try subject and see what it does for me. And it done really, really well. So let's go ahead and go with that. I'm going to zoom in. All I'm going to do is, oops, I got to hit the letter Z since I'm already in here. I'm going to go in here, and now I'm going to punch up my sliders on the shadows and just see what it does for us. Now that's looking really good. So let's hit Z again and go out and see what we got. Well, that looks really, really cool. So let me turn that off real quick. I want to look at the flower. Okay, I'm not liking what it's doing to the flower. So let me go up here and subtract with a brush. And as you can see right now, I got a pretty big brush. So I'm going to take this down a little bit. And I'm just going to paint over this flower because I don't want it to be affected by my shadow. Okay, so now we subtracted that. So now let's go in here and punch up the shadows and see it's only affecting the actual butterfly itself, which means then I can really punch it up. Let's hit the letter Z. Looks really, really good. So we're going to call that pretty much done. I'm going to close this, and we're going to have to do one other thing. So because I see a dust spot, or maybe it's a bug, or maybe who knows what it is. But I'm going to go to the healing brush, or that icon right there. I'm going to go to remove. And now I've got the remove highlighted, which is this little one right here. And now I've got my cursor, and all I'm going to do is kind of paint over that, hit release. I'm doing it with the AI. You can do it without the AI, which is a little quicker, but it's not as good, but pretty good. And now it processed that. I'm going to hit close over here, and now that is gone. And then I'm going to do some border patrol to see what else I got in here. There's a spot down here. I'm not worried about that because I haven't cropped yet. So really the last thing I got to do is I'm going to crop. I'm going to hit the letter R, or you can go, actually, before we do crop, see this little button? Since we're using AI, this is saying there's some updates. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to say the adaptive profile will include all new edits. So this, you want to hit the update on this. I haven't really seen where it done much to my images when I do it, but it's doing something in the background. So again, we're going to go to R, which is crop, and this is the crop symbol up here. And at this point, you guys know that I love 16 by 9, so I'm going to go down and hit 16 by 9. And at that point, it got rid of this white spot down here. Now, I'm not a big fan of this over here, so let's see what we can crop to get rid of. I'm actually liking that right there. I actually maybe want to go just a little bit more because I want to get this over to, let's do it about right there and click on it and see what it does for us. Let's go full screen. Well, that is looking really dang good. I see no distractions around the edges. Again, got some great detail in here, and unfortunately the computer has it there caught up, I think. Some great detail in there. I'm going to hit F again for full screen to take it back into the thing. And now at this point, the last thing I'd have to do is do export. I'm going to put this in just a folder that I call Facebook with my little logo. Again, my settings, it's going to Facebook. My settings are JPEG 100%. I'm going to resize it to the long edge of 2048, which is a pretty good setting for Facebook. I'm going to leave it the resolution at 240. I'm going to always sharpen for the screen on high, and then I'm going to put my watermark on there, and I'm going to hit export. All right, it has exported. Now we're going to close this window, and we're going to go into, that's my beautiful granddaughter, by the way, Facebook, and then I go up to Facebook, and there's the final image with my logo. And that's how I would edit your image. In this case, this is how I would edit my image. So if you really want to let me play around with one of your images, I would really appreciate it. I'd love to share kind of my techniques. If you do, it really would like to have a RAW file. I can do it with JPEG. And if you want to send a RAW file, it's huge. Just let me know, and we can figure out a way to get it from you to me. And again, I won't put my logo on your image. The final image that I process, I will give back to you for your whatever you want to do with it. Again, it just kind of show you a different technique. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I love editing images, as you can tell. It's one of the things that I love, going out and shooting the images, but the next couple days afterwards, I get the thrill of sitting at my computer, which again, I love, and actually editing the images and see what the final outcome can be. So again, if you would allow me to edit one of your photos, I would appreciate it. And in the meantime, you guys have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye.